because black people have to work so fucking hard in this country to get to where the most mediocre of white men can just walk into. You know what I mean? And then you make your own businesses, you make your own companies, and you hire your own people, and then you just fuck around because you feel like you can get away with it because anybody who criticizes you is just going to be called a racist. I'd rather keep it real with ya. Hey everybody, it's me, Minu. Happy Sunday. Hope you guys are doing okay. So tomorrow I'm going to be getting my hair done for the first time in several months. I have a lot of maybe trauma, shame around my hair. For obvious reasons. If you're a black woman, you already know what's up. But I'm going to a black hair salon so a black woman can do my hair. So this is going to be a huge thing. I haven't been to a salon in forever, but I wanted to talk, just make a little short video. Fingers crossed that it'll be short, about how black women just shame other black women into hating themselves and their bodies. Like, I've never had, how do I put this? I am a fat black woman who does not know how to do her hair. And the most criticism that I get has always come from other black women, starting with my mother. And it was a lot of shame triggers, maybe even some trauma involved. I don't fully know. But I'm going to tell a story, something that happened to me and how it just really exemplifies how black women are just like really quick to shame other black women. So right when I graduated college, right before I graduated college, actually, this was the first time things kind of went south for me. I applied for this job where I was going to be like a psychologist assistant. And it was this old religious black woman. And I was like, I don't know about this. And when I went into interview with her, she just like really just, I don't know what she did, but I think she just really broke down my self-esteem to the point that I really wanted to leave, but she wouldn't let me leave. And she was kind of like standing over me and asking me these really, really weird questions that just made me really uncomfortable. And when I walked out of the interview, I was like crying because she just made me feel like so worthless and shitty. And even to this day, I can't fully remember everything that she said to me, but it was kind of like poking at my self-esteem, my self-worth, as far as like I had to prove to her why I was good enough to get this job as an assistant. You know what I mean? And like, really, all you got to do as an assistant is a job. But like, she really just came at me. And I ultimately declined the job because she wanted me to work during finals week. I ultimately declined the job because like all of my black women friends were like, take the job, you need the money. And then my white women friends were like, you're going to be miserable if she made you cry in the interview. Imagine what the job's going to be like. And I was like, yeah, I can't do this. So after I graduated, I didn't have a job and I didn't have a place to stay. So, you know, I was staying on people's couches. I was house sitting. I was cat sitting, wherever, staying in my friend's apartment just because I just didn't have nowhere to stay. I guess I was basically homeless. But I was like really desperate for a job. And I went to the alumni group of my college. And that was in charge of that was this old white lady who was really nice. And then there was a young black woman who had graduated from my college some years ago. And she had this, you know, she had connections with other black women in the city who worked at businesses or even owned businesses. Like the black network of my college was really, really strong because it was a PWI. So she was really connected with them. And she was like, the first thing that happened when I went in there was they looked at my resume. I'm fresh out of college, so I really ain't got no experience. But she really dressed me down in terms of like my resume was shit and I didn't have any internship. Is you good, ma'am? Is you good? Damn. She really like dressed me down and made me feel like shit that I didn't have like a lot of internship experience on my resume or anything that they could work with. And I'm like, I was in college. I was struggling to survive. You know what I mean? Like not everybody has 15 internships that they can go through and they're volunteering with some kids in Zimbabwe and shit. Where are you trying to go, Morticia? Where's you trying to go? What do you want, Sadie? Get off me. But yeah, so that made me feel bad about that. Then she like reached out to a friend that she knew who went to the same college as us, who worked at a company that was run by someone who went to our college. So they was like, it's a black woman owned business. With mostly black people work there. This is going to be great for you because it's like a nepotism thing, right? Like, hey, we went to the same college. We're both black women. Give me the job. And so I was like, oh, cool. This is going to be great, right? You know, because I was like, man, is this what white people feel like? You know, they could just get jobs because they know people. I was super excited for that. Turned out to be a nightmare, but I'll get there in a second. And so one of the things this woman told me was like, we got to do something about your hair. And I was like, you right. I mean, I don't know how to do my hair. Like, I keep my hair in braids year round because, like, even to take it down and wash it is super, super thick. And I never learned how to do it because in my family, they just make you get perms or wear wigs. Or get perms and wear wigs. So my hair was just whatever it was, you know, whatever style that the person who was nice enough to do my hair put it in. And that's what they did. And so she was like, we got to do something about your hair before you go to this interview. And I was like, okay. And she takes me to this black man hairstylist. I'm like, cool. I had no say in what was going to be done to my head. I went in there and it was like, we're going to do your hair. And I hadn't had a perm at that point in like a few years. I was natural. And that black man just permed my hair. It wasn't a discussion. He never asked me if I was natural or not. He just permed my hair and put it in the ugliest old people style possible to where when my friend saw me, she immediately laughed at me and was like, we gotta fix your hair. At least it was permed to where I can kind of comb out all the fucking curls that he put into it. Do I look like somebody who wears curls? But I got my hair permed and it was like not a discussion. Like that woman and that man was just like, you're going to have to get your hair permed if you want to work at this job full of black women. You know what I mean? So, and it was like, the idea was that if you want to get a job, even if you're at this black owned company full of black women who probably have natural hair and all types of hairstyles, you are going to perm your hair because that's the only way to look appropriate. And then with the clothes, you know, they bought me clothes from Macy's. They bought me these heels. I've never even worn heels. They were super tight and uncomfortable. They like really just did this whole old fashioned, you look like you from the 50s, but you're wearing all black. So it's modern type of outfit. It wasn't a discussion. It was like, we know what will get you a job and this is what will get you a job. No consideration to who I was as a person or what I cared about or what I wanted. It was just like, you want a job, you're going to perm your hair, you're going to put these pumps on, you're going to put on this outfit. There was also a lot of shame when we were at Macy's trying to find an outfit about my body type because I couldn't fit the normal shit. I'm a plus size woman. And she had to call her plus size friends to help find outfits that look good on me because she didn't know what actually would work for me or even what size skirt. They wanted to put me in a skirt. I haven't worn a skirt since the 5th fucking grade graduation. And I cried at the 5th grade graduation because I do not wear skirts or dresses. Did not matter. They put me in whatever the fuck they want to put me in. To the point where I actually went out and bought some cheap ass flats to wear to the interview because my feet hurt so bad just sitting wearing those heels. It just erased everything about me that was unique. And it's weird because they went to the same college I went to, but like so many years before when it was even more white. And so it was like, going to a liberal arts college and really learning about black identity and black history and, you know, really getting to know your style. I had a friend who had to go through the whole natural phase where her hair just looked a hot mess most of the fucking time because she was figuring it out. And to go through all of that and then have the people who are running like the alumni relations who are helping you get a job be like, no, you need to look like a 50s woman in the office if you want to get a job at this black owned business run by black women, was just really upsetting. And she also, when we were alone, would constantly tell me how embarrassing it was that I was a black woman who didn't know how to do my own hair. Like I had to grow up and I had to learn. Like I couldn't just keep going to people to do my hair, which was weird because she made enough money to where she could get her hair done on a regular basis by her stylist. I ain't had no money. I was broke. I ain't had no job. And then she judged me and was like, you know, she shamed me. She was like, it is shameful that you do not know how to do your own hair as a black woman ignoring the fact that she doesn't do her own hair either, but also that she had very thin hair. Her hair was not so thick like mine to where it dries super quickly. You don't even have to put me under a blow dryer. Like, it's really, really fucking thick. And so she was a light-skinned woman with thin hair, and she was just shaming me all the time, making me feel really bad about my appearance, the way I dressed, the way I talked, the way my hair was. And it was all unwarranted. You know what I mean? Like, there was no reason to come at me that way. You know, you could say something like, well, in the corporate world, you have to dress a certain way if you want people to respect you as a black woman. It wasn't that. It was like, you should feel ashamed as a black woman that you are not on my level as a woman who makes, you know, I don't know, $60,000, $70,000 a year, and I can afford to get my hair done all the time and get my nails done all the time and wear nice clothes. You should feel ashamed that you're not on my level, you broke bitch, basically, because I was broke as fuck, you know, and I grew up poor too. So it's like, what the fuck? I don't know nothing about getting my nails done. Shit, I clipped these hoes myself. Like, So I got through with all of that. I finally made it to the interview. The black woman who interviewed me was a dark-skinned black woman whose hair was natural, you know, and she was really, really nice. Like, she wore jeans to the interview. And I was like, I am way overdressed for this job. What's going on? And it was like a nonprofit, so it kind of didn't have a good structure like more corporate jobs would. So she could show up to the interview like that because she was doing like a lot of, you know, groundwork. They were working in it wasn't an office at that point. So I go through the interview with her. That goes well. I kind of dissociated in the interview, unfortunately, because at that point, by the time I got there, I was feeling like a piece of shit, trying to prove to somebody that I'm good enough to be given a job. And then I got an interview with the CEO of the company, which was a black woman who went to my college. And every black person at my college knew this person. They were like, this person is the most amazing person ever. We all know her. We think she's great. You're going to make a lot of money in this job. Like, it's going to be a great experience. They was all talking it up. And I was like, okay, it's going to be a great experience because it's run by someone from my college, right? No. And I think something that got me is that I think that there's an expectation that everyone who went to my college is a certain way. And it's just not like that anymore. Maybe it was like that in the 90s when they were in college. But when I was in college, everybody was different. We were allowed to be different. You know what I mean? Like, there was protest and everything. And there was different religions on campus, different cultures. It wasn't just white people and 12 black people, you know? So there was this expectation. And so when I went to interview with her, I interviewed with her and I interviewed with the dude I was replacing, who I knew from the college, not that well, but he also was a black dude that went to my college. And the interview was kind of weird. I mean, I did what I did and I got the job. It just, the atmosphere in there, like, it was kind of dark for some reason. It wasn't brightly lit in the office. And it just, something about that should have triggered me because I felt something in my spirit that said, this is not right. Something's not right here. But I just really was desperate for a job and to make some money. And because I had to, you know, I had to get a place to stay. You know, I was going to have to prove that I had income to get a place to stay. And I think at that point, my friend and I moved into an apartment in the hood, and her dad had to co-sign because I didn't have any income or money in the bank. So it was just like, I was kind of in a desperate situation. I would have took any job that was given to me, honestly. So I got offered the job. I get in a job, it's mostly black people working there. And it's kind of like, there's the part of the nonprofit that actually deals with what they're doing. And then there's the office part, which is where I was with the HR and talent and accounting and all of those people. All black people in the office, mostly black women, couple black men. And I was very uncomfortable, and I tried to tell myself, well, you shouldn't be biased. You shouldn't think just because it's an all black office that is going to be some type of way, you know, don't judge people. Like, I was telling myself that as my spirit was saying something else. And it could have been my spirit or it could have been my trauma. Who the fuck knows? But either way, it was right, because the environment, first of all, was not professional at all, but also very abusive. So the guy in the job before me was heavily abused and beaten down And he just took it and took it and took it until he was molded into what they wanted out of him, which was someone with no work-life balance, who did not sleep, who was on call 24/7, you know, was stressed out of his mind, always looking like he was on the verge of passing out or having a mental breakdown. Like, they did that to him and they were proud of it. And then the worst part of it was the HR director. There was only two HR people, a HR director and an HR assistant. And the HR director was an older black woman. I say probably in her 40s, you know, so she was younger than my mom, but old enough that she could have probably been my mom. And she was really, really friendly in the beginning. And this is something that when I've talked with my black women friends about making black women friends, that kind of comes up a lot. She started off very friendly and wanted to know everything about me. Now, first of all, we're in a work setting. You don't need to know what church I go to, or what church my family goes to, or where my family stay. You know what I mean? I tell you what college I went to, but you're asking some really, really personal questions, you know, like what high school you go to, oh, your parents live around here, where they live, what church they go to, do they go to this church? Like, that woman wasn't even from here, but she was asking me a lot of personal questions. And because she was HR, I had to let her know that I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And she took that to mean that I was telling her that I was crazy and that I was going to pop off on people in the office. And I had to explain to her, no, I don't do that. But sometimes I might need to step away for a minute to take a mental health break. And when I say a mental health break, I mean like 15 minutes to 30 minutes. You know what I mean? I don't mean like I'm off for days, but I was like, I might need to do that. And it's also very important that I sleep at night because take medication and all of that stuff. And I told her these things. Part of me feels like I shouldn't have told her these things because she began to do me like she did the guy before, but it didn't work on me like that because she was under the assumption, one, as a young black woman, that I had an attitude, which I don't. Very respectful, very quiet in the workplace. Don't get into shit that ain't none of my business. But she came at me assuming that I would be disrespectful or have an attitude. She would tell me to grow up a lot, to be an adult if I didn't like how she was treating me. She would hover over me a lot, always wanted to know what I'm doing, where I'm going, how long my bathroom break was, clocking what time I left. I was salary, by the way, clocking my hours. You know, if I left 5 minutes before, if I walked out of the office 5 minutes before the end of my shift, basically, she was docking that. You know, if we were going home early and I left on time, which was early, she was docking that shit. Anytime I got sick, she would tell me to go to the emergency room, which I would say, I have a cold. I don't need to go to the emergency room. I just need to rest. And she would use that against me. I was put in a situation where I was getting calls at night and I wanted to turn my phone off, and I was told, no, you can't turn your phone off in case somebody calls you. And I'm like, who needs me at midnight? And they were like, you don't know who's going to need you at midnight, so your phone needs to be on. And I was like, this is not realistic because I told you I need to sleep. And I was like, I cannot be on call 24/7 because I need to go to sleep. You need to at least allow me like 9 hours a night where you can't expect me to come to work or answer the phone. And she said, that just sounds like you don't want to work. Just sounds like you're making excuses. And I was like, no, this is my mental health. And my psychiatrist even wrote a note saying her sleep is very important for her functioning. And they were like, oh, you got your psychiatrist involved? Well, let me tell your psychiatrist about how you're a bad employee. And I was like, on what grounds? On what metrics am I a bad employee? What did I do? And then there wasn't really anything that they said that I did. It's just that she didn't like me. So once my psychiatrist got involved, she just started telling people and telling my boss that I was a bad employee and that I was like leaving all the time. And I was like, leaving all the time? I was in the bathroom, you know, or if I was on my lunch break, I was in the car. You know what I mean? It just didn't make any sense. Like, she was manufacturing things about me because I was standing up to her. And I even went to the guy who I replaced. I went to him and I was like, why is she doing this? And he was like, she does it to me too. She did it to me too, but that's just her. You know what I mean? And I was like, no, but this is bullying. This is harassment. Like, her following you around or like coming in the room and sitting down and just basically telling you're a bad person, or you're lazy, or you're unmotivated, or you don't want to work, or you're lying about being sick or having a illness or anything like that. Like, that's all accusations, and it's an attack. And he was like, oh, that's just how she is. She does that to everybody. And I was like, no, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. And he was like, well, she does it to everybody our age. And I was like, sounds like an age discrimination situation to me. And so when I finally confronted her, and I should have recorded the conversation, but I didn't. I didn't know if I could record the conversation. And I was like, it feels like you're doing this just because I'm young, because you'll tell me to be an adult and to grow up, and how you're old enough to be my mother, and that's the problem with people my age and all this. So like, why are you doing all of this? She was like, what? No, this is not an age discrimination thing. This is not an age discrimination thing. No, not at all. Nuh-uh. This is like, you're a bad employee. You're not good at doing your job. And I'm like, what? Show me where my metrics are. Show me a performance review that says I'm not doing my job, because the performance review from my manager just said I'm doing great and I'm ready to take on more work. Why are you harassing me so much? And even with her assistant, she was another Black woman. She harassed her so much and was like always trying to figure out where she was, what she was doing, accusing her of being lazy, accusing her of not working. She knew her family. She knew her mom. Like, she talked to her mom. Like, this was all very just inappropriate. And it's like, she just got away with it. And also, she wasn't good at her job either. Like, everybody knew that she wasn't good at her job because she kept being unprofessional and inappropriate. And I'm not going to say it was because she was Black, but I feel like she got away with it because of the type of organization that was being run. And then, so my boss was never around. So I never talked to her that much. And when she was around, I would get very nervous, because everybody treated it as if she was just like this big, bad, scary person. So I could never have a relationship with her as my manager that even the guy before me had, because she just never spoke to me. And so the HR lady who was bullying me went to my manager and told her all these things. And so my manager was like, oh, I'm hearing that you're doing this and doing this and doing this. And I'm like, hearing from who? And she was like, oh, so said it. And I was like, yeah, so went to you after I confronted her about the way she was treating me because of this. I literally wrote down a lot of the stuff that she was saying to me and doing to me. And I was like, you need to take this into consideration, because when I approached her about harassing me, she then went to you to say that I'm a bad employee. And so my manager was like, oh, I'm going to take care of it. I'll talk to her. I shouldn't have done that. I should have went even higher. And went to like her boss to talk about it. But I thought going to my manager would be the right thing to do. In a normal ass company, it would. But I was in a bad company that was poorly ran, and it's enough that it's like Black owned, but it's like also a nonprofit. So it's very, very poorly run and just poorly structured. Because if you actually talk to people, you would realize that this person was a problem, and she had a history of harassing people under a certain age and like making people cry and then laughing at them and then telling people about, yeah, so was crying because I told her to grow up, you know, she was just a bad person. But I mean, who is going to replace her? You know what I mean? If you can get paid whatever it is that they pay at nonprofits, you know, it ain't the same as another company. So because of that woman talking to her, even when I brought up all this stuff about like, this is what's been happening while you've been gone or not paying attention at all, I still got wrote up. You know what I mean? And it was just like, some of the stuff I was like, how can you write me up on something you've never seen me do? How can you write me up? And then I was looking at stuff, I was like, some of this isn't even true. Some of this didn't even happen. Like, why would you wrote me up on things that didn't happen? Like, what the hell? And I went to the woman who first interviewed me with the first interview for the job, was another black woman. And I told her, I was like, you know, I'm being treated this way. It's really upsetting. And now I'm being wrote up over stuff that didn't happen. Like, should I contest this? Should I say like, hey, like that didn't happen? Like, what do I do? And she was like, basically telling me, just be quiet. Just be quiet. Just bow your head. Say, I'm sorry. Acknowledge, like sign it. Say, yeah, that's what, yeah, I did that and I'm sorry. Cause she was like, cause if you try to contest it, it's going to make you look even worse. So just take it. You know what I mean? And I've been told by some people, just take it. because I was at that point, I had become like an outcast, because a lot of times, like, people think just because it's an all black company that is diverse. It's not diverse. And it can be diverse as an all black company, but it is like, how do I put this? You got to be allowed to have a diversity of personality, and you didn't. Everybody was the exact same type of black person. And because of that, me coming in as a different type of black person was not accepted. Like, I had friction with everybody, no matter how nice I was. I just was not a part of their group. I couldn't vibe well with them. Some of the black men there were really nice to me, but it wasn't enough. It was the black women in my company, in my office, did not like me. And whether they were very rude and bullying and harassing, or they were just, very tense every time they talked to me, or if they just didn't talk to me at all in the first place, it was just so weird to see that flip, because when you first come into these spaces, or when you first meet some other black women, they are so nice to you. But it feels like the second that you show that you are not the type of black woman that they are, now you have to be pushed to the side. You have to be an outcast. You have to be gotten rid of, because you're causing friction. And I felt that really that was the issue, because I came in expecting a level of professionalism in the workplace that just was not there, and they pride themselves on being black owned and having mostly black staff and all of that stuff. But it doesn't matter if your company can't get its shit together. And so I ended up leaving that job with trauma. Not only did it trigger a trauma I already had, but it created new traumatic events that were just really, really bad and damaging. And I'm still working through it now. And it's very frustrating. And even when I was leaving, like, there was all these like dubious things where they were like, we'll pay you if you don't talk about what happened. You know what I mean? It was like all of this stuff that was like making me very uncomfortable. And I feel like if I did not have, like, my mentor is a older white woman who worked in HR for decades. If I didn't have her on my side, I wouldn't have known what to do. And I probably would have been like the guy before me who was just beaten down and submitted. And, even after I left, they actually gained a reputation. I never spoke about the stuff that happened to me outside of my friends and my therapist. But other people started telling me stuff. Other people who were a part of those same black groups where they liked all the black people who went to the same college as me started talking about things that were going on. They started hinting stuff to me. Some people went to work there and I was like, congratulations, let me know how you think. I left there, but if you enjoy it, that's on you. And they would come back to me a year later like, Minu, it was awful. It was awful. And then I was like, how's the guy that I replaced? Because he's still there. And they were like, he's worse than he was 2 years ago. And I just felt so bad for him. But on the other hand, not only did he let them break him down, but he also became complicit in like the abuse and harassment of other people, because he would always defend them. You know what I mean? Like, he would take their side. He would make it seem like I was overreacting by being upset of how I was being treated. So yeah, I feel bad that they broke him down, but I'm also like, no, you are a part of this too. You contributed to this toxic environment by basically gaslighting me and making it seem like I was just manufacturing upset, or I was making a big deal out of small things. But it wasn't just me. When I left, I started hearing from all these other people who absolutely hated it there because of how they were being treated. So that was very validating on the back end. But while it was happening, nobody had my fucking back. And it was very, very upsetting. And then after I left that job, I reached out to the woman who connected me with the job because she worked at my college. She ghosted me. Wanted nothing to do with me. I don't know who told her what. Did not respond to my emails, she just did not want to talk to me at all. And I just was upset about that because I'm like, hey, I need a new job. I got to go work somewhere. She was not having it. So that whole thing was cut off, and I had to think about it. I was like, damn, like, am I cut off now from the entire, black network of my college because of these black women who were so well known in these spaces, and now they don't like me? And I was really upset. I felt really isolated because, I grew up in this city, and these people, it's like if everybody at the school you go to is they ignore you, and then one day somebody who's super popular decides that they don't fuck with you no more, and now everybody hates you, and now you feel like shit. And that's how I felt. And I felt like when I went into my next position, I was working for a white man and a company the company was very diverse. I ain't gonna lie to you. It had some white people there, but it also had, black people, Asian people, all of that. But my manager was white, and it was a professional corporate company and human resources, and it helped me so much because when I went into that job, I got to see how companies are supposed to treat their employees. And I would even talk to some of the HR advisors about what happened to me, and they would say, "Oh my God, that is awful. Like they should never say this. They should never say that. That's illegal. That's harassment. That's abuse. That's toxic. Da 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 da." And it was just very validating to see what a company could really be. And I feel like I don't think that black companies are incapable of being great. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of black companies where I'm like, man, what are y'all doing? But I feel like there are black companies that feel like they can do whatever they want to do because they're black companies. And I'm gonna leave and racist white people, shut up for a second. Don't let me finish. I felt like that company, anytime they were criticized, I saw it happen. Anytime they were criticized, they talked about the fact that they were a black woman owned company, and everybody was trying to tear them down simply because they were a black owned business, and they had mostly black people working there, and they was like, that's why people are criticizing us. And I was like, you really think that that's what it is? You know what I mean? Like anytime anybody said anything, it was like, y'all just trying to tear us down because we black. No, it's not because you black. If anything, because you're black, I expect more of you. Because black people have to work so fucking hard in this country to get to where the most mediocre of white men can just walk into. You know what I mean? And then you make your own businesses, you make your own companies, and you hire your own people. And then you just fuck around because you feel like you can get away with it because anybody who criticizes you is just going to be called a racist. So nobody can criticize you for what you're doing. It was not that a black owned business is doomed to fail. It was that the ego of the black people who are starting these businesses is so big that even if they fail, it's everybody else's fault. You know what I mean? It's never their fault. They're never wanting to be like, you know what, we want to make sure that people actually like working here, so we're going to do things to improve employee retention. No, they'll say, I don't know why everybody keeps quitting. Probably because they're trash employees anyway. We just need to hire more people or hire temporary workers or whatever because people just don't want to work around here. It's always someone else. There's no accountability, not just for black women, because I hate it when they just say it's black women, but these black owned businesses don't really feel accountable to the people who work for them and the people that they serve. They just expect that because they're black owned businesses that they are automatically going to get all the respect and all the accolades. But I feel like you really got to do the work. And having worked in a real company, an actual corporate professional company that had consistent like policies, and there was a clear reporting structure where I saw my manager every day. You know what I mean? My manager had his door open. He would come by. He'd be like, hey, how you doing, Minu? How was your weekend? How was your night? You know what I mean? And he actually cared about what was going on in my life. And, he would sometimes say, hey, take an hour break, and after you finish eating, just go walk around the lake for a while. It's just so beautiful outside. You should just go for a walk, because he cared about my mental health. Versus at the other company where that black lady was like, oh, your psychiatrist wants you to sleep. Sounds like a lazy attempt to not work. And it was really traumatizing. But I think also for me, what was also very upsetting was that It was black women who did this to me. It was black women. I'm a black woman. You're a black woman. We should be uplifting each other. We should be helping each other. We should want to see each other succeed. We should talk good about each other when the other one's not in the room. You know what I mean? It just felt very, it felt like betrayal. In that sense. And the crazy thing is, like, don't get me wrong, I grew up in an all black community. I had a lot of bad interactions with other black people, but I feel like I dismissed a lot of it because I was like, once I'm in a corporate world, you know, these is adults, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I grew up with some trash black women, but those are teenagers, you know, teenagers are trash anyway. Or I grew up in this toxic family system, but, oh, you know, poor black community, alcoholism, you know, I can even excuse my toxic family system and say that that is just them. I would never say that it's indicative of like the whole black community, because I met black women at my college who were from all over and they were really nice. And some of them didn't fuck with me and didn't like me. And some of them really did like me. And when I talk to my other black friends about trying to make black women friends, I see the same stuff happen over and over again, where they're really nice in the beginning. They want to get to know you. And then they turn against you and they use everything you said against you. And as I talk about this, I think about the first job I had. When I first got to college, I worked under a black woman with other black people. And it was a similar thing. It was very stressful. I was the odd one out. You know, everybody was very cliquey and they were not really feeling me. They did not respect me. I was the butt of a joke most of the time. I told my manager about my condition and like how I just wanted to have open communication with her. And she was like, don't tell me about that because that makes me think poorly of you. Like, to my face, this makes me think poorly of you that you have a mental illness, which is really upsetting. And it's upsetting to have so many of these work experiences where the black women in there, you think that they're going to have your back and support you, and they do the exact opposite. Because it does, like I said, it feels like a betrayal from your own people. And then when I went and said, I don't want to work at a black company anymore. I don't want to work for black people. I don't want to work in a majority black, you know, team or whatever anymore. It sounds awful, but it's purely because of my experiences. It's purely because of what I've endured in these other situations. And even the company I work for now, my team is mostly black, and I have a few coworkers who are really nice. And then I have some coworkers who it's the exact same shit. They just don't like me. They don't like me for whatever reason. They don't like me. They don't fuck with me, and they talk to me crazy, you know, in the messages and stuff. And I've had to screenshot shit to send it to my manager because for some reason they decided that they don't like me and they want to harass me and they want to talk down to me and put me down and make me seem like I'm an awful employee. But at this company where I have actual metrics that you can measure my performance against, I'm killing it. I've won awards. I've gotten raises. I've gotten bonuses. You know what I mean? And then there are black women who I work with who are just like, she's always fucking up. She's always messing up. She's always da-da-da-da-da. And why? Why do black women, especially in these professional settings, feel the need to put down other black women, especially when it's a shit ton of black women working here? It's not like one of them situations where it's a mostly white company and there's one black lady and then I'm the second black lady and she sees me as some type of competition. You know what I mean? There's hella black people here. There's no reason for us to treat each other this way, to fight with each other, to demean each other, to condescend to each other. And yet here we are. So I'm currently interviewing for another position. It's going to be working with a lot of white people. I'm excited. I hope I get the job because it would be a pay increase, but it'd also be a completely different work environment for me. And this environment, as far as I can tell from everybody I've spoken to, cares a lot about work-life balance, cares a lot about mental health, cares a lot about taking care of yourself. And so hopefully I can be in a better environment, and that's going to be much more conducive to my mental health. And I can stop getting on my therapist's nerves, constantly complaining about my job. Don't get me wrong, I like my job, but like some of the people I work with are just awful to me. And it's always black women. I've had very few situations where at my job, even in customer service, where it has been anybody other than black women who have been disrespectful to me, who have cursed me out, who have yelled at me just because I guess they feel like they can. And like, just because I can take it don't mean I have to. So hopefully I'm in another situation in a few weeks, or at least by the end of this year, I'm in another job and I can be happier and I can be more me. But I just wanted to vent my frustration about how Black women treat each other inside and outside of the workplace. Like, y'all, we got to uplift each other. Like, even if I don't vibe well with you, I'm still not going to talk bad about you behind your back. Like, I'm going to tell other people that you're great. I'm going to uplift you. I'm going to congratulate you on your successes, because I want all Black women to succeed, not just some of us. And I wish that people could do the same for me, but I guess not. So I'm going to leave y'all with that. If you have any comments, well, I guess this wasn't really aimed at white people, but if Black people have any comments about, how they feel about other Black people or working with other Black people, particularly the Black women versus Black women struggles, just let me know in the comments and tell me how you feel. Like I said, it's always a discourse. It's always a debate. You might be able to change my mind about something. Somebody might have some kind of philosophical insight that I didn't know about. I'm excited to hear all of it. But until next time I see you guys, take care of yourself and I love you. Bye.